Hello, everybody. It's your friend Manoli here, coming back for another episode of Manoli's Musings. How are we doing, everyone? I'm sitting here in my robe. It's a black robe and it has red lining. It makes me look like Emperor Palpatine. And so I sit here in my black robe as I talk to you, and I say, "It's treason, then." And I am the Senate. So yeah, I try to pretend like I'm the emperor, but I'm really not. I'm not in charge of anything. Just in charge of this wonderful podcast. Yeah. So what's going on? How we doing? How are you? Football's back. Isn't that exciting? I know so many of my fans. I know you're really big into football, but I enjoy the football. I enjoy college and I enjoy fantasy football. And I yeah, it's been interesting. I went to the season opener for the Gamecocks, the Carolina Gamecocks. It was in Charlotte. They played UNC. They did not win, but I did go to Charlotte for the game. It was I had a good time. I met some of my friends out there. My buddy Alec was there. Alec, always good to see Alec. He's a good friend of mine. He's been on this show before, and he's a good guy. Always happy to see Alec and his girlfriend Sarah and Courtney, my friend, was there, and yeah, a few other people we met. So it was a good time. It was a good time. I enjoyed myself. Yeah, I went up. So it was Labor Day weekend, and I went up the morning of the game. I thought I was gonna go up after. I thought I was gonna go halfway after work, maybe stop at my grandparents. You know how that goes. You get home, you really want to pack up all your stuff and go hit the road. You know me. When I'm home, that's it. It's like if I'm home and my shoes come off, when I put on my gym shorts, there's no going back from that. You cannot leave after you're home. It's like you go home after work and you're just like, that's it. I'll just go in the morning. I'll fight the game day traffic. I don't care. I will go up in the morning. So I did. I went up in the morning. And the plan was to meet and have lunch at this Italian place up there in the Charlotte area called Portofino's. And Courtney sent the address. We had a group. So it was Courtney and then Alec and Sarah and then another friend of ours, Sophie. And a few other people we met too. But anyway, so she had a group and she sent the address there. And I'm like, okay, the place is named Portofino's. I can remember that. So I just, on my GPS, I just put Portofino's and I drove up. And, the traffic was okay. It wasn't so bad. I made decent time. Manoli keeps it going. There's no lollygagging. He just gets on the road and he goes. Minimal stopping. He just goes. It's like my walking around philosophy. You just go. There's no lollygagging, no nonsense. You just get on the road and you go. So that's what I did. I went and I pull up to the place and I get out my car and they always like to make fun of me. This particular group of friends. I have a few groups of friends. I like to keep them separate. I don't like a lot of intermingling between the friends. Sometimes I do, every once in a while, but then sometimes there's been some interesting things that have happened when that have happened. So I try to keep them. I love all my friends. It's just, one group is this way, one group is that way, one group is the other way, and you just kind of have to, you adjust for each group. But this particular group of friends, they always like to get on me for being late. They call it Manoli Standard Time, and they all laugh about it. And so they said, okay, we're going to meet at 1 for lunch or 12:30 for Manoli for MST, Manoli Standard Time. I'm like, oh, you're so funny. Aren't you funny? And so I'm like, for once in my life, I'm not going to be the one who's late. I'm going to be there. They're not going to be able to say anything, and then I'm going to throw it back at them. Anyway, so I pull up to the place. I'm all happy. I made it in time. I get out of my car. I start walking in. I open the door of the restaurant. There's not a soul in there. And I say, because one of them had said, well, I got here early, that they were already had a table. I walk in, there's not one person in the restaurant except for the host. And I say, is there more like tables? And they look at me like I have 8 heads. And They just said no. Like, well, something can't be right here because I know one of them is here. And so I looked it up, and there's more than one of these restaurants in the Charlotte area. So I went to the wrong one. And then, of course, by that point, I'm late. And then I get the call on my way over there. Where are you? You're late. I say, listen, I went to the wrong place. And then I walked in, and of course, they gave it to me. Oh, MST, MST. They, that's what it is for me. I can leave somewhere that takes it doesn't matter. No matter what time I leave, I'm late. There's no it just defies all logic. There's no explanation for it. Yeah, I either get there an hour and a half early or I get there 10, 15 minutes late. There's no in between. Sometimes 20, 30 minutes late. I don't know what it is. I think it's a Greek thing. We call it Greek time. It's true. I believe in it, and I think that it affects me more than anyone else in the planet because it doesn't matter. I if it says it's going to take me a half hour to get there and I leave 35 minutes before, I'll be 10 minutes late. There's no explanation. It is what it is. I've learned to live with it, but I thought this time I'm going to show them. This time I'm going to do it right, and I didn't. I failed because I, you know, who wants to remember the address? You remember the name. Okay, Portofinas. I can remember that. You can remember. I can't remember 630, you know, Jefferson Highway. I don't know. I'm making up street names, but you know what I mean. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't remember that. I remember names, places, landmarks, people. This is how my brain works. It is what it is. I'm 23 years old. Things ain't gonna change. That's it. I am what I am. So I was late. Anyway, so afterwards we went and we dropped our stuff, and then we went out. We started tailgating, which I had maybe one or two beers. Not nothing more than that. Yeah. So we met some more friends of ours, and we went out tailgating. We went to one of the bars in Charlotte, and we walked around. We bar hopped a little bit, and then we went up. It's time to go to the stadium, and yeah, by that point I was hungry for a snack, so I was in line to get a beverage, water, of course, or maybe a lemonade or a sweet tea, and it was at Bank of America Stadium, which is where the Panthers play, which is a great stadium. It's nice. You could walk there from the city center. I like Charlotte. Charlotte's another city where, as long as you're downtown, you can pretty much walk anywhere, which is nice. I enjoy that. I like walking people. I don't know. People have this idea. I like to walk. It's easier. I'm not late when I walk. When I walk, I'm on time. It's when I drive that things, the space time continuum gets all discombobulated, and then I'm late, no matter what. But walking on time, early. Anyway, so we get to the stadium, and I'm waiting in line to get a beverage, and I'm like, I'm kind of hungry. I could use a snack, and anyway, I get to the front. I'm like, y'all have any food at this stand? Because you think, they sell beer, they probably sell food too. Maybe some popcorn or a piece of pizza. I don't know, something. And they're like, we have bratwurst, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to go stand in line again because y'all know how I feel about lines. I don't like them. I try to avoid them as much as possible. I try to cut every line that I can. I have no remorse over cutting the lines. There is If you can cut a line, I salute it. That's it. I try to stay within the confines of society, but with the line thing, I think if you could get ahead with the lines, I say go for it. I salute it as long as you don't do it to me. But I don't let people do it to me because I am the line cutter. That's it. I couldn't cut this line, so I'm like, I'm not going to go wait in line again because I've wasted my life waiting in lines. I'm not doing it again. So I just said, okay, I'll take your bratwurst. Anyway, so I got the bratwurst, and I take a bite out of it, and it must have been 400 degrees. It was the hottest thing I ever put in my mouth. I don't know what they did with it. It was baked over the coals of the inferno of hell. I don't understand how something could be this hot. I mean, it was in foil. I could feel that it was kind of hot, I'm like, how hot can it be? And I put the thing in my mouth, and it burns like it's like I ate. It's like I drank lava. It was I started not crying, but like tearing up, and I'm just like, oh my gosh! And of course, it burned the hell out of the roof of my mouth. It was terrible, and I finished it. It was the worst bratwurst I ever had. I'll never do that again. I'll wait on the line. I'm not doing that again. Next time I might make an American same, which will be never because I don't even care about the Panthers. But um, anyway, so we went to the game. They lost, but we don't need to get into that. I'm glad I went. I had a good time. Uh, I enjoy football. There's, you know, I need to go to another game. The Gamecocks are 2-2 now. They lost to UNC, then they beat Furman. It was a Furman, one of those BS games, and then they lost to Georgia, of course, and then they beat Mississippi State. So anyway, yeah, so that's okay. 2-2 is we've been worse places before. Uh, they looked better the last two games than the first two. I will say that. So maybe things are getting better. I don't know. Clemson's also 2-2, and they're having a much harder time with it. The fans are really upset. Not all of them, but some of them are particularly upset. I'm just like, I have no sympathy for them because they had all that success. They won two national championships. Within the past however many years, they were always in the playoffs. It's like how much, you know, you had your turn. Enough. Your reign is over. You don't have, and it's like there's some kind of spiritual warfare attached to it. And it's like the fate of the universe is not at stake here. It's a freaking football game. It's a football season. I mean, just enjoy yourself. Why is there so much on the line? I mean, this is like I said. This is not for. This is not a war. There's nothing on the line here. It's just. I mean, there's no like. Why is it so serious? I mean, you lost two games. I mean, just get over it. Like, what's the big deal? I, I don't take it personal when my team loses. You expect the worst and you hope for the best. That's really it. That's how you have to be, especially in football. But they can't handle that. I mean, they got crushed by Duke, which was amazing, and then they lost to FSU in overtime. Oh, sad, very sad. Yeah, I have no sympathy. They had so much success, and that's fine. You won. That's great. But hey, the pendulum always swings back, and that's it. It ain't that deep. I mean, you don't have a quarterback. That's really it. There's no spiritual forces at work here. There's nobody plotting and scheming, and there's no conspiracy involved. It's just, you may not lose another game this season. I don't know. I hope you lose to us, but it's just I don't understand why they're freaking out. But I digress. I try not to get into it. I have a lot of people that I like that are Clemson fans. A lot of my family are Clemson fans. I love my family. I love my friends. But some of them have reacted strangely, and that's all I'm going to say. After I went on a 2-minute rant, but anyway, back to the Charlotte thing. So after the game, yeah, we went out of the town, and of course, we had a good time. And anywho, the next day, we went and we had some Chinese food, which was very good. And I love Asian food. It's delicious. Anyway, so we're sitting at the restaurant, and we're there. Alec and Sarah, they had left, which was a shame. I only got to see them for one day, but something's better than nothing. I always like to see them. I hope they're listening to the show. Anyway, so it was me, and it was Courtney, and it was our friend Sophie. And anyway, we're sitting there. We're having our lunch, and I forget the name of the place, but it was good. I would go back there if I was in Charlotte. I don't know, but anyway, we're sitting there, and Courtney's like, "Do y'all want to go to this casino that's about an hour away?" I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, I'm either gonna go there, or I'm gonna just head out." And she's like, well, I'm going to go there no matter what. I'm like, well, I guess I'll go, because I mean, I don't know. If you're going to go, I may as well go. Maybe I'll enjoy myself and have a good time. I don't know. It was like an hour outside the city. Now it's they're going to build a whole, like a big casino, but right now it's just like a temporary facility. So you walk in, there's no live games. It's just slots and like video table games. So I'm a craps player. I don't like slots. I don't enjoy it. It's not my thing. I just find it boring. But listen, hey, if you like slots, play slots. I don't care. They have a little sports book. That's it. So anyway, so they have, it's a small thing, but listen, you can gamble there, and that's all you need, right? It's that. So anyway, so me and Courtney walk in, and she sits down at the slot machine, and I go down to they have video craps, and I didn't want to gamble that much. I wasn't planning on playing this trip. I wasn't planning on doing anything. So I'm like, okay, I'll stick $100 in, and we'll see. I'm here. I'm here. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so I stick $100 in. I get on a freaking heater, and I walk away. I mean, like an hour goes by, and I'm playing, and I'm just pressing, and things are going my way, and I walked out with an additional $600. And I said, you know what? I love this place. This was a great idea, Courtney. Thank you so much. Thank you for this idea, for inviting me. I love this place. This is wonderful. I mean, it was great. I didn't expect to gamble. I certainly didn't expect to win. And I was like, oh, I'll put 100 in. We'll see what happens. And I won $600. So that's a good day. That's a very good day. Listen, it ain't everything, but it's not a bad thing to have sometimes. So I was happy with that. Um, I enjoyed it. I said this place is great. And yeah, we played a little bit. I don't know how Courtney did. I think she might have broke even, but I was pleased. I was very happy. And then anyway, so we left. She went back to Greenville, and my plan was to go to my grandparents' house on the way back because I like to visit them whenever I can. I enjoy spending time with them. I enjoy staying at their house. I had the extra day. It was Labor Day weekend. So I'm like, okay. So it was like, I don't know, it was like 4 o'clock, 4:30 at this point. So I'm like, well, I can go there, and I don't know if they're gonna have food, so I'm probably gonna have to eat because I didn't tell them I was coming because I don't like to announce myself until I know what I'm doing. I do things on the fly. I play it by ear. There's no planning. There's no anything. I'm like, I mean, I have an idea, and sometimes I do it, and sometimes I don't. You can't. Things change. Things change. People change. I don't. Of course, I stay consistent. Manoli is like the rock. There's nothing changes from the beginning of time to the end. But yeah, I said okay. So it was like a weird time. So I'm okay. I'm like, all right. I like Charlotte. I'm gonna go. I didn't really get a chance to walk around the city, so I'm gonna go walk around a little bit. Why not? Anyway, so I park the car. I walk around. I walk up and down the street, and I'm thinking about my friend because I don't know if I told this story on this show because it was kind of it was I was embarrassed at the time, but since it was like a year ago, I figure I'll tell the story. I think the last time I was in the city, no, not the last time, but the time before last, I was in the city. It was after a gambling trip. We went to Cherokee, the same people, Sarah, Alec, Courtney, and Sophia. It was the same people, same thing. It was about a year before this. Anyway, so we went to Cherokee, North Carolina. We went to the casino there, and then I went to Charlotte to see Don Giovanni at their. They have the theater there, and they have an opera company, Opera Carolina, and it was a good show. Anyway, but that night I'm walking around, and the next morning I can't find my car keys, and I have class the next day. So this is when I was still in school, and yada yada yada. I don't remember if I told the story on the show. If I did, too bad. You get to hear it again. Um, I'm like, I can't find my car keys, so I'm like, okay, this is bad. This is bad. And so I look everywhere. I look through all my bags. I look at the front desk. I go to the theater. I go to where I had dinner. I looked up and down the street, literally looking in the street for my car keys. And after, I don't know, 2, 3 hours of trying to find them, and calling places and going here and there. I only went to 3 places. I went to my hotel, the theater, and dinner. I'm sorry, wrong order. Hotel, dinner, theater. And then I went home. I mean, I went back to the hotel. So there was only so many places they could be. But I must have dropped them in the street. I was wearing a big coat. It was in the winter. So I think I had it in my pocket. And I think they just fell out. Point is that it was bad news. Oh, that's bad news. And so, as Maria Callas would say, and so I'm in dire straits. I'm like, I have no way to get out of here. It's a Sunday. I can't get it. There's no locksmith. There's no nothing. There's no way I'm going to be able to get, another key. And so I made the dreaded phone call because I knew there was a spare key at home. I knew this was going to be bad. This was bad. This was, I dread, this is why I think this is why I didn't even want to talk about it on the show because of how much I dreaded making this phone call. Anyway, so I make the phone call home. I'm like, I think you start with your mom because, I think it's easier that way. You start with your mom, and I say, "Hey, what's going on?" You start out all innocent. Oh, you having a good time? Yeah, I'm having a good time. The show was great. Yada yada yada. I kind of got a problem. Well, what's your problem? I can't find my car keys. Well, did you do this? I said, yes, I did all that. Well, did you call the hotel? Yes, I called the place. I called the theater. I went inside the theater. I went to the restaurant before they opened, and the manager, I talked to him. I looked around where I sat. I looked at the lost and found. Went inside the theater when it was closed. I looked at their lost and found. I did everything. The car keys are gone. She's like, huh, okay. And so she tells my dad, and and so what ended up happening was my dad drove it to my friend who lived in St. Matthews, South Carolina, which is about 45 minutes up the road from Charleston. So he took my keys. This is very nice of everyone involved. He took my keys to my friend Max, and my friend Max, my good friend Max, I talked about him on the show. I want to have him on. I saw him this weekend. He's doing great. I want to have him on the show. Anyway, my friend Max offers to drive them up to me in Charlotte. What a good friend. He's got, he's a hardworking man. He spends his Sunday taking me my car keys. I'm like, this is a friend this is a good friend. This is a wonderful man to do this for me. I'm in dire straits. He helps me out. And so, anyway, I learned a lot about Charlotte that day because I'm just walking up and down the street like a crazy person. And we finally, Max gets here. Like, Max, let me take you to dinner. I'm so sorry you did this. I really appreciate it. You're a great guy. You're a man amongst men. Yada yada yada. Okay. Anyway, so I take him to dinner, and we went to we went to seafood place and nice place. I ordered some oysters for us, and anyway, so yeah, we eat. I say, Max, thank you so much again. I can't thank you enough. Yada yada yada. He's like, no, it's okay, yada yada yada. And he still gives me grief about it, but that's to be expected. I deserve it because I was a freaking idiot. And anyway, yeah. So we part ways. I go back to Columbia, and then he goes to a friend that lives nearby. So thankfully, he didn't have to go all the way back. And he calls me the next day, and he said, those oysters, I got some kind of food poisoning. I felt so bad for him. He got sick off of these oysters that I bought him for taking my car keys. He got sick of some kind. I don't know what happened. He got something. Something bothered him, and so it's just so funny. I feel so bad for him because he did that nice thing, that wonderful act of friendship. He had a good attitude about it. I tried to help him out, and look what happens. I mean, that's the definition of no good deed goes unpunished. So I thought about that while I was up there. I hadn't told that. I don't know. I don't think I've told that story before, but there it is. If I told it before, I mean, I don't know. This is a free podcast, okay? Anyway, so I thought about that when I was there, and then I went because I was walking around the city like I did that day. Anyway, so I walk around a little bit. This is in the present now. Well, 3 4 weeks ago, and anyway, so I figured, I'm gonna use my winnings and I'm gonna go have a nice dinner. So I went to the Capitol Grill. This place is great. This is one of the best steakhouses that you can go to. And I went in. I said, "All right, here we go." I said, "I'll sit at the bar, please." Okay, we'll sit at the bar. And I sit down and I'm looking at the menu, and I won some decent money, so I'm like, "All right, I think I know what I want." I ordered a lobster bisque, delicious, and I ordered a jumbo lump crab cocktail, and this thing was good. It had so much crab, and it had the sauce. I don't know what you call it, the little white sauce. It was delicious. The lobster bisque was amazing. It had big chunks of lobster. It was delicious. A lot of it was great. So I had that. I had this crab cocktail. It was huge, and then the people next to me ordered one too. I'm like, yeah, you see, I'm a real influencer. I influence people to make good decisions. Um, I hate that term, by the way. That was a joke. I'm having my dinner. It was wonderful. And I ordered a filet. It was delicious, wonderful filet, medium rare, just how I like it. And I ordered some truffle fries to go with it. I mean, it was a wonderful feast. It was my winnings. I won some money. I said, you know what? There ain't no Capitol Grill in Charleston, so I'm going to go to this one there. And I had a great time. It was just me, myself, and I. I sat at the bar. Of course, I talked to the bartenders and stuff because I'm such a warm and convivial guy. I just like to meet new people. And yeah, I had a great meal at the Capitol Grill. I'm like, all right, that's it. I called my grandparents. I said, would you mind if I come stay the night? Oh, we would love to have you. Thank you. Who wouldn't love to have me? And so I went down there. At this point, it's starting to get dark, and it was dark. It was starting to get dark. Yeah, the time is getting shorter and shorter. We're getting into that weird. Is it daylight savings time? I don't even know how this stuff works. I don't care. Just tell me the time and move on. I don't care where the sun is. I prefer more day, but seasons change and whatever. I just tell me what the time is. I don't care if it's EST or EDT or whatever it is. Just tell me what it is. How did I get going off of that? Do you see what happens when I get a lot of energy and it gets pent up? I was in a bad mood today, so this show should be fun for you. I'm in a better mood now because I won my fantasy game, but anyway, so I'm driving. And I'm looking at my GPS now. I have never driven from Charlotte to my grandparents' house. They live in a town called Prosperity, South Carolina. It's close. It's on Lake Murray, close to Chapin. If anybody, I'm saying this like y'all live here. You don't. A lot of y'all don't live in South Carolina, but it's close to Chapin and Newberry. It's about an hour from Columbia, which is the capital. It's the country. It's out there. Anyway, they live in Prosperity. So I have never driven from Charlotte to Prosperity. And so I'm like, well, I'll just do what the GPS tells me. How bad could it be? Anyway, so it says, okay, the route we're on is going to take you 30. It's going to take you 30 minutes less than going through Columbia and going the way you usually go. So I'm like, all right, I'll take a chance. Whatever. Anyway, and so I pulled off, and oh man, it got dark, and it was it was so dark. It was in the back roads in the country. It was dark. I mean, there is no darker dark than like being in the woods at night. There is no light by the time I really got going on these roads, and so I was like, oh man, I have no idea where I am. I was going slow, and of course, every once in a while, somebody would speed past me because people were so impatient. It's like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather them go past me than just to tailgate me. That's true. So anyway, I don't know where I was. I thought I was going to run into the swamp thing or the lizard man. I don't know. Legends of South Carolina. You start to believe them when you're going down those back roads at night, man. It was no joke. You know, 2-lane highway, and I'm not used to driving in those dark country roads, so it took me long. It probably took me just as long to go there because of how slow I was going. Not super slow, but slower than normal. then it would have just taken me just to go the alternate route. So you remember how I told you how no matter what I do, I'm always late. This applies to this too, because I just should have gone the normal way and stayed on the highway, the interstate, and then just gone that way. But no, I said, all right, I'll take a chance. And I don't know where I was, and I'm not trying to say anything about South Carolina. I enjoy living here, but man, it was very dark, and I had no idea where I was. I thought I was going to see Bigfoot or the Swamp Thing or the Lizard Man or the Alien or something. I don't know, but they're waiting for me. I didn't get there till like I left Charlotte like around, I don't know, I guess 7, and it was supposed to take me like an hour and a half, and I don't think I pulled up there until around 9. But man, it was another genius decision on my part. I thought I got smarter over the years. I think I got dumber. But yeah, I learned a lot about South Carolina that night. That's for sure. I mean, you can't see anything. I mean, you can only see what your headlights show you. That's really it. And even if you look to your left or your right, you really can't see. So, I mean, making a turn, it's like I'm turning into the darkness. I had to go over a bridge. There was it was intense, man. I don't know where I was. I'm sure during the day it's beautiful, but at night, like I said, I thought I was going to run into the Swamp Thing or the Lizard Man or one of our cryptids. Maybe some, I don't know, something. But I did make it there. Of course, I turned into the wrong driveway because it snuck up on me because I'm used to going from the other side. And I was like, oh, great, I'm going to turn this driveway and somebody's going to have come out with a shotgun and that's going to be it for me. But I got out of there fast. I turned around and then I pulled in my grandparents and voila, there I was. Like, what happened to you? I'm like, oh, don't ask. And yeah, we talked for a minute and then, it was late. So we talked. Yeah, they stayed up late. They stayed up late, my grandparents. I'm telling you, man, they get around. They stay up late. They're vibrant. They're lively. They're smart. They got it going on. They're pretty cool. And so I talked to them for a minute, and I'm like, okay, good night, good night. And they told me, they said, all right, we got your AC going again. I went in there, and like last time, it was about 32 degrees in there, but I turned it up, and it's sweet because they want to be comfortable. But I mean, man, that thing is that room is either very hot or freezing cold, and it's been cold the past 2 times, which I can remedy that. I just pulled the what did I do? I was watching TV. I just pulled the blanket off the bed and I was sitting on the couch watching TV. And they always stock beer for me whenever I come. There's always beer there. So I was having a beer and I think I just fell asleep on the couch, which, yeah, it's usually how it goes. Anyway, the next morning we're sitting around and they invited, some of my aunts and my uncle to come because I was there. It was Labor Day. So, like, all right, we'll make dinner. We'll make a little thing out of it. Yada, yada. Okay. Anyway, so the next morning I'm sitting there and my granddad's talking, and we're talking about Facebook. And my grandma's like, she's getting the food ready, and he's talking, and I'm like, he's like, I have like 100 people that have friend requested me. I'm like, well, who are they? He's like, I don't know, and I don't care. And I'm like, well, who? You don't recognize any of them? And so he's like, yeah, maybe some of them. So he starts naming them off. He's talking to me. He's also talking to my grandma. And he starts messing with her. He starts naming like people that they knew from however long ago. And so he's naming names, and then he names, I don't know. He goes Jane Doe. Just using a name, somebody that they knew. And so she didn't react. And so he said, did you hear what I said? I said Jane Doe wants to be my friend. And she stops what she's doing. She goes, are you serious? And I'm like, who was that? And he says that was my girlfriend from before I married your grandma. I said, oh no. And he was just kidding. She didn't want to be his friend. But I thought it was funny how he needled her along. It was very entertaining because she wasn't paying attention. And he's like, well, I want to get her attention. So he totally needled her. And it was, it's just funny. They're funny. I thoroughly enjoy my time with them. We play cards. My grandma won, of course, because she always wins. Like I've said 100 times on this show, It doesn't matter what you do. It's like me being late. It doesn't matter how I do because she always wins. But that's okay. I've just accepted the fact that she has supernatural abilities with two card games in particular, Progressive Rummy and Pinochle that we play, and she's good at both of them. So there's that. But I just thought it was funny how he needled her along with that. She said, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Man, it was totally not true. He was just trying to get her attention." But it's just funny. They're funny. I enjoyed them. So yeah. So we had dinner. My Aunt Chris was there. My Aunt Lori was there. I didn't get to see my Uncle Marty. He was out on the boat. And then I'm like, all right, guys, I'm going home. So I did. But it was a nice trip. It's a good Labor Day weekend. I had a good time. Watched some football, saw my friends, won some money, saw my grandparents, had some nice food. Not a bad trip. Not a bad trip. Not bad. So what else is going on? It's been a minute. What is going on? What can we talk about here? Have you heard about this Roman Empire thing? People on TikTok and stuff, they think it's funny. They're like, it's like a joke that men think about the Roman Empire like all the time. And anyway, it's just this joke that like men think about the Roman Empire. So people start asking me, they're like, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And I'm like, I knew it was a TikTok thing from the second. It had that. I knew what it was. I'm like, well, yeah. What else are we supposed to think about? I think about history, people. And let me tell you. They're like, how often do you think about it? I'm like, often enough. I don't know. They did some things. They were big empire. The history is interesting. I mean, you ever watch I Claudius? I mean, it's interesting stuff. I know that's dramatized. And then there's operas about Rome, Coronation of Pompeii and Julius Caesar and all that stuff. So yeah, I think about Rome a decent amount. But the first person that asked me was my friend Sarah, and different Sarah. And I'm like, I knew this. I was like, what is this, a TikTok thing? And I said, you know what? I think about Rome, but I think about the Greeks more. Because let me tell you something, the Romans copied a lot from the Greeks, the architecture, the mythology. Most of their teachers in Rome were Greek. And you were not considered an educated person until you spoke Greek and Latin. So what does that tell you? The Greeks, we started Western civilization. We were the beginning. And people came along and they innovated and we did this. We invented democracy. We did all sorts of things, philosophy and democracy, and we advanced mathematics and the theater and the arts and the Olympics. I mean, come on. I think about the Greeks a lot more than the Romans. I think about old ships more than I think about the Romans. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I find the Romans fascinating, but there are other things that I think about, like opera, like old ocean liners that people still make fun of me for, and the Greeks. So yeah, I do think about it. But now it's spread so far, it's like it came full circle because I got asked, this thing became popular like, I don't know, maybe 5 days ago, 6 days ago, a week ago, something like that. And then what does my mother text me today? How often do you think about the Roman Empire? So it's come full circle. Um, I thought it was funny that she did. I didn't tell her that already. I'm like, who told you to ask me that? And she's like, your Aunt Laura. And I'm like, yeah. But yeah. And it's like, what else am I supposed to think about? No, seriously, what am I going to think about? I think about that, history, the Greeks, opera, football, Star Wars. I mean, what is there to think about? Seriously, what am I supposed to think about? I think about my work when I'm there, and my business, and I'm singing. I'm in a show in 2 weeks, The Elixir of Love, with the Charleston Opera Theater. That'll be exciting. It's nice to be back in the saddle, be back on stage. I haven't been in the show for over a year and a half when I was back at school. So this is great. It's interesting. You start to remember things, and you start to just pick up on things you can do. Yeah, I'm in the ensemble, but there's still a lot of stuff you can do. There's a lot of chorus in the work, so I'm on stage a lot. So you have to think. I'm playing a soldier. It should be a good show. I'm excited. The singers sound great. Um, I think the staging is good. Yeah, I think if you're listening, I think you should come and see it. So there's my pitch. There's my advertisement, free advertising. If you want to see it, let me know. I hope you come. Um, yeah, it's going to be a good show. I'm excited to be back on stage. Like I said, it's nice that I get to. It's nice that I live in a place where I can, work my 9 to 5, work my business, and also sing. I keep busy because let me tell you something. What's that phrase? What is it? I don't know. I don't know. I like to keep busy, people. I like to keep it moving. I'm like a shark. A shark, if it stops moving, it dies. That's how I feel. I got to keep on moving. Got to keep going from one thing to the other, to this and to that. And sometimes it does get overwhelming. But I always make it through. You got to make it through. And then when you've been really busy, you take a little break, and that's it. It's like today. I had nothing after work, and I felt like I felt like something was wrong. Of course, and that's why I'm recording this show, because I had all this extra time. So here we are. This is how it works. It's how it works, people. But yeah, that's what's going on. The show should be good. Football's interesting. My team is my main league, the Manny's League, is I'm 2-1. And in my work league, I'm 1-2, and then there's another league where I'm 2-1. So, not so bad. That's going. The Dodgers won their division, so the playoffs are coming. So you'll be hearing more from me on that, because I know y'all were thinking you weren't going to hear about baseball this show, but I haven't forgotten, because baseball is still important to me. And the Dodgers won their division as expected. They won a week and a half ago. They won a while ago. So go Dodgers. Football's back. I love football. It's exciting to me. The weather is cooling down, which is good in some ways, but bad in others, because I hate the cold. It's like I'm going to just try to enjoy the nice fall weather as long as I can before it gets cold. I don't like the cold. I've said this hundreds of thousand times. That DC trip, that thing almost killed me. I don't know how anyone can function like that. That trip is when I decided once and for all I was done with the cold. I'm going to avoid it at all costs. I like DC. I had a great time, but it was so cold, my whole body shut down. It was very bad. So I've made my decision. I want to stay warm. I like the warm. I like to feel the sun. That's it. That's it. I don't know what else to say. But yeah, it's been an eventful. I've been busy. The business is going well. I got work, and I'm in the show. So yeah, here we go. And I think that's it for now. Please share the show. Please like and subscribe if you haven't, and stay tuned for the next update. Okay. All right. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.